So our first inbox review for the new Modeling Insanity TV is the Werk 250/1 in 16th scale. It is an excellent kit from what I can see. I'm going to show the instructions first. I'm going to fast track this double time and a half just to get through the instructions. So if you need to pause the video to take a look, you can. I can say that the instructions are very, very well laid out, very easy to follow. I like the parts breakdowns here and the way they break it down, starting with the suspension, going to the sprockets, as well as finishing up the tracks and the wheels. That's the best way to do these types of builds. So for the rest of the instructions, I'm not going to talk. I'm going to play some music in the background. Hopefully this works. And then once the instructions are done showing, I'm going to start talking about the sprues. All right, we're first going to take a look at the decal sheet, which is really good. It's sort of like a cartograph sheet where the decals are very thin. They're going to lay down well. It's broken down great on the sheet. You have the radio decals as well as the symbols and the placards for, let's say, the fire extinguisher. And Werk and Taken did an excellent job with these decals. So next we're going to take a look at the upper hull. The only issue with the upper hull is these ejector pin marks that are on the upper hull. But the thing is you're never going to see them when you build a kit. But for me, I always have to fill in any ejector pin mark. So the only issue that I have with this is that the front seat looks really good. The spring detail is excellent on this too. So this is a nice detail by Taken. The lower hull is molded as one piece, what we would call a bathtub style hull. And this is welcome because I hate putting together sections of lower hulls. And it just gives a great base for the rest of the model. Next up we have the wheels. This is the one issue that I have with the kit. I'm not a big fan of vinyl wheels. They just never look right. There's never that sense of weight. You can see here on the ridges, the detail's really good. But again, vinyl wheels just never work for me, especially in 1/16 scale, because you want that sense of weight and you're just never going to get it with the vinyl wheel. Next, we're going to take a look at the sprues that contain the tracks. Now, there are a lot of tracks. There's a lot of cleanup, and there's a lot to do with these tracks. My recommendation would be to start cleaning up tracks before each build session. That way you're not overwhelmed with doing tracks at one time for 4 or 5 hours. And these ejector pin marks will be hidden once you put the top part of the track on, so that's a good thing. And the rubber part of the track that makes contact with the ground is a little too neat and clean. Here we're going to take a look at the B sprue, which contains the wheels, the sprockets, the guns, the seats, and other suspension parts. As you can see here, the wheel is very well detailed with the detail on the rubber of the wheel. We also have the same exact type of spring detail on the seat. We have the vision ports. The gun detail on the Car 98s look really, really good. And the cleanup and detail on the other parts like the suspension arms will just require a little bit of cleanup on those seam lines. Next up we have the D sprue. This contains all the transmission and engine parts. Very basic detail on this. I would have liked to see a little more detail, especially for the engine, but for what we have here, I think it's good, but it's going to be mostly hidden. But for those looking for more detail, you might want to source an aftermarket one or detail it yourself. Here you can see the radiator, nicely detailed, as well as the fan and the right side of the transmission housing, which looks great, but it can be detailed more. Next up, we have the e-sprue, which contains the floorboard, the seat details, machine guns, gas tank. Again, well laid out, well detailed, easy. You can see here on the MP40 how great the detail is. That's not bad for 1/16 scale. Even the tread plate looks really good. The details there, the lifting handles look good, and all this detail will pop once the model is painted and weathered. Same goes for the center console. Crisp molding looks great. You can see here on the MG34, looks great. The details there, just a couple of connection points that need to be cleaned up, but other than that, really good. Moving around the sprue, you see parts like the dashboard over here, as well as the radio set. Really nice. With the supply decals and painting, these will look really, really good. And next up, we have the F sprue, which contains details from everything from the engine to the transmission to the steering wheel to parts on the sidewalls. Here you can see detail on the steering wheel, which is good. Could be a little better, but it looks good. And other engine details and crank bars look pretty good, but some of these details will be hidden once the model is completely built and closed up. Next, we have the G sprue. And here you can see the leaf spring suspension for the front of the vehicle, which is molded really nice, but when you put the two parts together, you are going to need to clean up a little bit of a seam line. Here we have the drive sprockets, which again are really nice, but have a prominent seam right down the middle across those bolts. So you don't see them here in the pictures, but when you start building the model, you will have to clean up those seam lines. Overall, this is a really good sprue. It's detailed well, and you need that because the front suspension's on the sprue, and it's necessary to build that correctly for the model to sit right. Next up, we have the H sprue, which is going to contain a lot of tools with the two clamps. Here we have the front plate with just a few connection points that need to be cleaned up. Here you can see the axe with the tool clamp. The tool clamps look good. They do need some cleanup and some sanding to get them to look right, as well as the shovel. Same thing, tool clamp looks good, but again, tool clamp needs some work. And looking over the rest of the sprue, you got other details like, again, another MG34, as well as the bolt cutters, MG shield, also the width indicators and other details. Here we have the side fenders. They look really good, but there is a prominent seam line down the sides that need to be cleaned up. So be mindful of that when you're cleaning them up, because it is faintly there and you don't want to be painting and weathering and realize that you missed the seam line. And here we have the major upper hull parts. And you can see here we have those raised ejector pin marks that need to be clipped and cleaned and sanded, because you will see these on the finished vehicle. And just looking at these, I know I'm going to have to fill them in with something like Tamiya Basic Putty or some other type of filler. Here we have the Commander figure, which is really good. I'm not a figure guy, so I'm not really one to tell you how great the detail is, but you can see here on the face how well the detail is for a 1/16 scale figure. And you can see the detail on his upper body as well as his belt buckle, the hands. The hands need a little bit of cleanup, but shouldn't be too difficult to do. Next, we have the Photo-etch sheet. Basic as basic can be. You have the grills for the ventilators on the front part of the vehicle, as well as the transmission housing covers, as well as the straps for some tools on the fenders. Here we have some clear parts for the periscopes. Looks really good, really easy to clean up and put in, but I do recommend using white glue or glue meant for clear parts because of its size. The kit does supply a tow cable, but it's grossly under scale. This is something that I don't believe I will use for the build because of how small it is. I could be wrong, but it just doesn't look right. All right, for my thoughts on this kit. So I think the quality of the mold is really good, so I give it an 8.5 out of 10. The parts detail, again, I give it an 8 out of 10. The decals and markings, excellent. I give it a 9 out of 10. And the instructions, which I think are really good, a 9 out of 10. So overall, my final score is 8.75 out of 10. Great kit. I highly recommend it. So all the details for this kit and all the other stuff that was seen in this video are in the description. So also like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so we can get this channel to grow. And we appreciate the support. You can see the full build of this 250/1A in the April 2025 issue of Military Modelcraft International. Also, you can listen to me as well as my fellow co-hosts on the Modeling Insanity podcast, which you can find on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and other podcast hosting companies, as well as the Quarter Scale Madness podcast, which focuses everything on 1/48 scale and quarter scale models. I appreciate everybody watching and look out for part 2 of the full build of the 250.